So this is the actual numbers. How many student athlete can be able to make the professional level? High school, U.S. high school senior athlete about 157,000 basketball players, and 4,500 players can be able to make at the collegiate level, and drafted 64. Obviously, there's a more number of basketball players who can play China, right? In Chinese basketball league, in Japan, Korea, and many European countries. So percentage-wise, percentage high school athlete to NCAA, only 2.9% players can be made to NCAA. Also, more importantly, Division One. So each team, Division One, each team has only 13 spots to give the scholarship, athletic scholarships. Ivy League is the only school, only league does not give any athletic scholarship. Do you know Jeremy Lin? Jeremy Lin, who went to Harvard University. Interestingly, more presidents were produced by Harvard University than NBA players. So Harvard University produced more number of presidents than NBA. And Jeremy Lin is one of the few NBA players who went to Harvard. But thing is, he never received any athletic scholarship. He received academic scholarships. So that's very respectable thing. And 13 scholarship opportunity in Division 1 school. And what about Division 2? Maybe half of them, 6 to 7 players can receive scholarship partially. And Division 3, thousands of athletes who working at the Division 3, no athletic scholarship. So kind of a Hanguk Korean University kind of adopted Division 3 level studies and play. However, there's no athletic academic athletic scholarship will be awarded to players. So NCAA to professionals, so 0.001%. So 1,000, one player out of 1,000 can only make to professional. But reality, Gonzaga University, actually that's starting at number 11 in the United States. So that's ranked 11th this year, tip-up season. But many student athletes, especially basketball players, believe they can be able to make to professional. Obviously, most of them actually make to NBA, a professional, but not NBA. The salary is not so great. So as you know, Matt Bolden is one of the Gonzaga University graduate. But think about it, he used to play D-League. The salary is not so great. And the season is short. So they gotta find second job, minor league baseball too. The single rookie season only lasts about 3 months, and single A same thing, and double A probably 4 months to 5 months, and triple A up to 6 months. So once season is over, no salary, no monthly salary will be provided. About $2,000 to $2,500. 200만 원, 250만 원 salary for 6 months. That's it. What about women's? Same. And the football, 0.1%. Now baseball, 600 players, including all the minor league teams, 0.5%. How can you convince them to study? Yeah. So baseball, when I say professional, so this includes minor league baseball because this is drafted. MLB, Major League Baseball. So NBA has only 2 rounds, 30 teams times 2. So 32 and then 64. What about baseball? The round up to going to 15 round or so. So going again and again. So only a number of players who were drafted at the round 1 can be able to play at the Major League level? What about you are picked at the round 6 or round 7? Obviously, you picked by professional team. However, there's a limited chance to play at the Major League Baseball. Probably you will be sent to rookie league or single A. So when you show up your skills and ability, then you can be able to upgrade it. So why do they need agent? So is the agent necessary to hire? Why? What kind of service do they provide to the athlete? What are they doing? Have you watched Jerry Maguire, the movie? No? Okay, so what do you know about agent? So what kind of services do you think they? Okay, so first their job or their duties and responsibility to negotiate on behalf of the player or the client. So try to maximize their market value. Okay. How much am I worth? And will you pay as much as I'm worth? Well, without agent who doesn't know any contract law, and then there's no bargaining power to be created. So I need someone to know and familiar with that stuff, and then I need their professional help. What about in Korea? What about professional players, baseball players? When they have their salary negotiation, do you think agent can be able to be with them? Not for Korean players. Only for international players because of translation. So Korean players, sometimes, this is kind of very sad. Some players sit with the general manager or team owner, the president. They call it different name depending on the structure of the business. Right? They have their attorney. And then players, some players don't even read their name in Chinese. So very unfair disparity of bargaining power. I don't know what this contract says. This is a legal term. I never heard about, I never learned. And then who wrote this contract? By the team. So do you have any negotiable room for this salary? So this is one of the problematic. So that's why the Sponsor Sports Players Association tried to do something for players. That doesn't make sense. We are one of the top, maybe top 3, top 5 professional baseball league in the world, right? But the system-wise, I don't think we are very advanced. So what else they can do? What else agent can do for the client or the players? What about financial services? How much do you think they can make? How much do you pay for the taxes? Tuitions make about $20 million a year, right? $20 million. How much do you think he's going to pay for taxes? Okay, 30% to 40%. So he have to pay how much? 20 million times 30%, maybe 40%. So a lot, yeah. And then agent, right? 5% or so. So he has to pay a lot of money. But athlete, and also this is ridiculous from my own perspective. There is a player tax. You live in Texas, your house in Texas, like a Chushin-su. And whenever you play other state, like a St. Louis Cardinals or LA Dodgers, you have to pay taxes in Los Angeles because they believe you generate some money from other state. So state, very savvy. So they kind of calculate how many hours do you play, and then how much money do you make an hour, so they can charge taxes. They call it player tax, based on duty days, how many total number of games. Such as Chujinsu, let's say Chujinsu make $25,000 a day every game, and then if you have 3 games in California, and then $75,000, so they're going to pay charge taxes, income taxes, 8.9 or 9.10%. So you pay $7,500 because you play 3 games in LA County or California. So when I talked to one of the professional players, and after the season's over, and he received all the taxes from every single state. Yeah, taxes paid up, yeah, at the end of the season. Because you are injured and then you are not able to pay taxes, right? You don't have to pay taxes. And also, if you cannot play certain number of games, like a 20% or 10%, your salary will be reduced. That's what I'm saying. Guaranteed salary. If there is no guaranteed salary, if you hurt, if your season's out, they're not going to pay you. They're going to pay you whatever contribution you can make to the team. So report in the newspaper will be quite different from what they actually get. So interestingly, one of the common players kind of complain because players do not listen to. Best players do not go to college. There is a different kind of a nature of the sport, especially NBA. There's no much different in terms of performance. If you're super good, like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, you don't have to go to college. You can make as much as other players without a degree in college, right? And then they don't know how long they're going to play. They believe, oh, I can play like 20 years in the professional level. And how much money a year? Like a $5 million a year, and then I believe I can play 10 years. Simply, 5 million times 10 years will be $50 million. Very optimistic. However, in reality, the average, you cannot spend more than $100,000 a year. I'm going to show you some numbers. And then Shaquille O'Neal, do you know Shaquille O'Neal? His agent told him, do not spend more than $35,000 a week. 일주일에 3,500만 원 이상 쓰면 you'll broke. Kind of hard to spend $35,000 every week. That's what the agents advise. If as long as the athlete request. Agent, I mean, it's super kind of a big agency, kind of multi-purpose agency. They have an attorney, they have a financial investor, accountant, so they can provide one-stop service, like a package department store. But some small-size agent, they can hire kind of outsourcing. Okay, do you need other service, financial service? I can connect to agency, financial investors, so you can handle directly with you. From the video, from the conversation, the agent who lives in Seattle, and he told me that he advised his client to save 25% of your salary will be successful. If you save only 25% of your salary, annual salary, then you're successful. $6 million, 60억, and if you have 20억 in your bank account, you're one of the successful player. And then from the report, it takes only how many years? 4 years for professional former NBA players to file bankrupt. The newspapers kind of reported that one of the former NBA player who used to play for New York Knicks. He playing from 1998 until 2011. He made about $100 million. He made $100 million. He filed bankrupt. So New York Times covered his story. He got a new job. He's a barista in Starbucks in New York. Yeah, you heard the story, right? He barista, the second job. How much money do you think he can make compared to what he used to make? So plan wisely. Do not spend $100,000 a year. And players, some of the players, young superstars, do not listen to agent says. And then they buy a house, $1 million house, $2 million house, and then buy a lot of jewelries. So this is abnormal. They can make $27, $22 million a year. I mean, all different sports setting. But I want you to calculate. So this is average player salary. Average player salary, NBA about 4.9 million, MLB 2.6 million, so NHL 1.6 million, NFL 1.4 million. Let's say, NFL, you are drafted by NFL. What a success, right? You pass 0.001% of chance to go pro. Your family is so excited, right? And then say you can make $1.4 million multiply about 0.6%. So pay all the fees, taxes and agent's fee. 60% of this money will be yours. 60%, how much is? 840,000. About 840,000. So just write it down. $840,000, and then think about how many years, average length of professional athlete's career. NFL $3.5 million. So 3.5 multiply 840. You can use your calculator, cell phone. Okay, but let's say 3 million, right? Approximately, let's say, okay, we're generous. Let's say 3 million divided by 50 years. 50 years. He has to really live the next 50 years. Probably 50 more. $60, right? $60,000. So ignoring all the inflation rate, let's say simply, he cannot spend more than $60,000. And in terms of mentality, I used to make $1.4 million a year for one season. I don't want to get a job as a security guard. They can make less than $30,000 working full time. They cannot have that kind of job. What about high school football coaches? Same thing, $30,000, $40,000 a year. And then based on their attitude, their mentality, they want to look for that kind of job. So they have to live the next 50 years with $2.9 million. Why don't you want to spend more than $100,000? In this case, $60,000. You are super lucky to make the pro NFL. And then let's say you are just average players. Then $60,000 or more spending will make you horrible life in the next few years. That's why they need some friends, some teachers, advisors. Legal issues. Do not use any drugs. Do not addict to any gambling, drugs, or overspend. Do not want to do that. So your point of view, turning pro early. So this is kind of an interesting discussion topic. If you were a superstar athlete, super athlete, would you attend university? Let's say in the United States. NCAA is big business. You can have all the spotlight, student body, from the media, ESPN will cover you, interview you. But you still have an opportunity to go pro. Let's say basketball. Yeah, that's right. So David Stone actually made a new rule, which is very unreasonable on my perspective. I'm going to explain why. David Stone made you have to wait 1 year after you graduate from high school. And he said, the reason that I made this rule because I want to help amateur sports, NCAA. Is that true? Who's going? Think about two different sides. NBA versus NCAA. And in between, there's a players. I want to be NBA players right away, but because of that new stupid rule, I had to go to college, which means flip the side. I'm not interested in studying at all. So those super athletes going to which school? Big time basketball school. University of Kentucky, Duke, Louisville. Every year, freshman MBA. Who gets all the benefit? NBA. Why? NBA doesn't have to promote those players. They're superstar in NCAA. All the games will be broadcast by CBS, March Madness, also ESPN, or the media. Everybody say, oh, they're not going to stay. They're going to be drafted. Absolutely. So NBA get free benefit, free promotions. What about players' perspective? Because you don't have any motivation to study, but you are forced to attend the college. What about other students? And what about some players? I'm from very poor family. This is the only way I can study at the university. Because of you, never were motivated to study. I lost my scholarship opportunity. That's ruining NCAA. So apparently, David Stone said, okay, this is good for amateur sports. But in reality, I don't think that's going to be beneficial to NCAA. There is no rationale. So I strongly recommend, my personal opinion, I want to go to pro. Why? Do not believe you will be better next year. Some sports, NFL, that's different. NFL is one of the few sports that there's a huge difference in terms of performance skill between NFL players and high school players. NBA basketball can overcome that barrier. Soccer, a little bit. But baseball, maybe. But NFL, never high school graduate can be a superstar in NFL. Big difference. Size difference, skill difference, strategy difference. But why I should recommend the professional players to go pro as soon as possible? You are agent. Assume that you are agent. One of the high school players, superstar players, ask you, "Hey, Choi Jin-soo, am I my agent? I have a question. I'm in this situation. Go pro, go college. Which way should I take? What? Go pro. Why? Make more money. Secondly, potential injury. Who's going to pay for it? If you go to college, that's a good choice. I think you better learn more. You gotta be mature as it goes by. However, if you're injured, and then who's going to pay for that opportunity cost? You sacrifice to go pro and make money, and then you play at the NCAA without making any money, with high risk of being injured. So Shaquille O'Neal, he was in the situation. The second year, sophomore year, he was offered from NBA. Are you interested? And he said, I want to stay one more year. And then obviously his father can worry about, okay, you can make this much money, but if you want to decide one more year, then what if you are injured? Which means you cannot play basketball permanently. Who's going to pay for that opportunity cost? So his father borrowed money from the bank and purchased premium policy. How much? $30,000. I'm going to buy premium insurance. I'm going to pay $30,000, 3천만 원, for 1 year. And if we injure, then he's going to get $10 million. Okay. So potential injury is one of the risky factor. Okay, types of sport management marketing agency. As the sport industry getting bigger and bigger, then probably you will see more agencies. Just not even operator, but more in-depth with skills and certified. Sports law is one of the deep throat of the sport agencies. Sport agencies. More than 1,000. If the quasi agency were included, it can be 3,500. But global standpoint, there are 47 big-time agencies by Forbes magazine, 47 international agencies. And how many sport division cover? 75 different divisions. Boras Corporation specializes in baseball. And then many kind of artists, Wasserman groups, they have all different kind of sports, IMG, golf division, and golf, all the professional and Olympic sports. What about Octagon? Octagon used to be top 3, Octagon worldwide. And then Park Byung-ho is represented by Octagon worldwide. Other players, Chu Shin-soo and Park Chan-ho, represented by who? Boras Corporations. But think about it. So only 25 certified female agents. So female, I just strongly recommend female. You gotta be in this business. Don't be scared. Don't be intimidated, because NFL is a boys game, men's game, because there's no female football team. There's a couple of teams actually composed of female players, but don't be shy, don't be scared of, don't be intimidated because you never play football. However, you are some specialty being a female, more sensitive, more thoroughly thought. So this definition of sport agent covers a broad range of relationship with an athlete, including friend, lawyer, teacher, or coach. From the practical perspective, you gotta be friends. You gotta be very friendly with the athlete. Other than that, okay, I'm not going to be your agent, your client. I have a decision. I have a bargaining power. Several agents contact me, and then I'm the, 갑의 입장. I have more authority to choose, and then, I'm going to go with a friendly agent. But think about new trend. Big time players not going to hire agent. What do they do? Like LeBron James or Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was one of the quarterback, went to University of Florida. He got 2 rings, I think 2005 and 2006. Very similar to sports. Samsung, Hyundai Kia paid about $175 million for FIFA, to FIFA. $175 million to FIFA. as the top tier sponsor. Samsung, pays similar amount of money to IOC. If you have to pay so much money to the organization, they think about, oh, I'm going to create my own sports. Why being a sponsor? So ESPN did it, right? ESPN was a media sponsor for several sports, and then they started creating their own sports. X Games. We are not going to sponsor. We are not going to pay that much money. We're going to own our own sports. Samsung started thinking of that way, championships or Samsung championship in LPGA, PGA. So they sponsor all the money, but they're trying to create and build up their ownership in sports league. Sport agent too. If I'm the big time athlete, probably there's a lot of love core by the agents. Instead hiring agent, I'm going to start up my own agency. Tim Tebow created their own agency. LeBron James, from his friends, old friends, 3 friends. Okay, we're going to start our own company. You are my agent. Also, I'm the owner of my agent. Same thing, kind of entertainment, Korean entertainment. Yujae-seok were, some of the entertainers. They start up their own agency, right? Representing themselves. So it has been kind of popular, especially for big time sports athlete. So Lynn Steinberg is one of the prestigious agent in history. He's been dominant in this business in early and mid 1990s. So he advised Jerry Maguire. So he actually explained his experiences being an agent and provide a lot of consulting services to the director of the movie. So $2.5 billion deal total. Troy Aikman used to play for Dallas Cowboys, and he's one of the ESPN broadcaster. Steve Young, 49ers, but 8 number 1 draft pick players in the NFL. Actual figures according to Shropshire and Davis. So who are the audience? Who is the target market? Athlete, that's true, as well as coaches. Coaches make a lot of money, right? I said before, professional coaches and amateur college coaches. From that article I gave you, some coaches make about $6.7 million a year. Then you need an agent. I can find more endorsement opportunities. What about the caddies of Tiger Woods? Okay, it's on the media. He wrote a book. And he blamed Tiger Woods a lot. Did you read that story? So he broke up, with Tiger Woods, and then he kind of expressed his own very honest opinion, how how badly he was treated by Tiger Woods when he threw his club at the golf course, and then he had to pick up, and then very emotionally undesired situations several times. So he's a great, because Tiger Woods made 14 major tournament, and then 13 of them with this gentleman. And then he had a lot of spotlight in the media, so he got a sponsorship contract, endorsement contract by Nike, because he was on the TV as many times as Tiger Woods did. So he was so lucky to make extra money. Same situation. Sharapova, his father was attending every Sharapova's game, and the cameraman actually spotlight her father every single time. So his father got a endorsement contract. Yeah. What about some other the players, like Lee Sing-yup's wife, Lee Song-jung, right? So whenever she attended the game, and then sportscaster mentioned, and then she was on the TV. Why don't you approach her? Somebody, yeah, not big money, but small amount of money. So ask her to wear some of the T-shirt. Okay, how competitive it is to be agent, especially NFL. They set the rule. 2002, negotiate at least one contract in a 3-year period or lose their certification. You have to pay dues. If you want to be agent in NFL, you have to pay the dues. And then if you can't have any NFL players for 3 years, will be kicked out of this business. And then there's a general rules, like a 20-80 rules. 20% of agency or agent represent 80% of players. They look for big-time agencies. If you just recent law school graduate and start up your own agency, how can I trust you? And then Scaporos actually try to build the entry barrier to recent law school graduate, saying, "Oh, you gotta pay $100,000 deposit to Players Association," and then actually that request has been rejected. How can you have $100,000? You are just recent law school graduate. You pay a lot of money. And Scaporos is trying to build up, okay, no one can be in this business. I'm going to own this area. But anyway, there's a lot of blame and in terms of that request. Okay, I just want to introduce a couple of big-time agents. Phil Pichardo, president, athlete, and personality, Octagon. So he works Octagon worldwide, represent Martina Hingis and Bill Cower. So Octagon has a specialty for Olympic Games, X Games. Okay, snowboarders or BMX bikers, so skateboarders. So they actually specialize in extreme sports or X Games, action sports, etc. So they actually dominate in niche market. Scaporos absolutely, he actually representing more than 100 MLB players, and these are players. And Tom Gondon, he's a big name in NFL. He's specialized in NFL, and then he's he's a big name in the NFL. And then I just want to talk about Mark Steinberg. He went to University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. I think he studied psychology or political science. And he didn't know. He had a chance to talk to his father. And his father asked you, "What are you going to do after you graduate from the school?" And he said, "I don't know. I'm not sure." And then his father recommended, "Why don't you be going to law school?" So he attended law school. And then he was very fortunate to go to IMG. So, which area? Golf division. So represent Tigers, so it's a big time. So for method of payment, percentage-wise, most popular, typical 2 to 3%, but as I said, NFL 3%, NHL, NBA 4% max, and MLB 5%, and then EPL 10%. And also endorsement contract-wise, so 20 to 25%. And then the award money from the tournament, about 10 to 15%. So if you're big-time players, then you can ask them, okay, I'm going to make whatever percentage set by Players Association. So it's not a big deal. Okay, that's the done deal. But if you are minor league baseball players, what are you going to do? Probably Kim Byung-yeon and Seo Jae-young, all the big time players actually made a $1 million contract fee, signing bonus. Okay, $1 million. Many players from Korea only 2,000. Same thing, $1 million, and then we have ownership of you. But you will be playing for minor league, which means you can make up to, $1,000 or so a month. So contract money is a big money, but the team has ownership of the players. But if you are playing for minor league level, then you can ask them, okay, time charges at hourly rate, $150 to $500. If you are not familiar with contract, then you can hire an attorney by at an hourly rate. Big time players will be hot spot for that agency, so agent kind of spend a lot of money on that certain players. But if you are so players, if you can generate about $10,000 or less, then big time agents not going to spend any time to negotiate on behalf of you. So some players gonna contract with the team directly. One of my former student, Ira Brown, he actually playing in Japan right now, and then he was contacted by a couple of Korean KBL team. And then when I asked him, he said if he had any agent, and he said he doesn't, because he has to pay the fee out of his pocket. And he believed that agent doesn't do anything. So he believed that he can be able to handle that negotiation because the money-wise at stake is not so high. Less than $10,000 salary, why you hire an agent? Save some money. And flat fee, so predetermined fee regardless of time span. So this is one of the way, but it's not very common. It's kind of rare. Combination. So I'm going to give you extra commission. If you meet more than what I expect, then okay, I'm going to give you some bonuses. Especially, why don't you represent me for my salary as well as my endorsement contract? You can make me more than $10 million endorsement contract for a certain period of time, then you can have 20% or 30% of bonus commission. So try to share them up. Find more endorsement contract because there is no limitation. NASCAR, think about NASCAR. The big time driver can have more than 20 sponsors. Okay, so there is no limitation. You can find 5 more and bring me $5 more million. Then I can give more commissions. Agency. This is a kind of important term, fiduciary relations. So I'm going to explain fiduciary relationship. What does that mean? Usually, agent, player and the team. The relationship between player and the team is different from employee and employer. What about excuse me? I'm the athlete. I'm going to hire my agent. Okay, what kind of relationship can you think of? I hire you. You are a lawyer, and then I'm the athlete. Once again, you should be loyal to only me. Employee and employee relationship. Okay, employee doesn't mean they have a loyalty toward the company. But client and agent relationship, agent going to be super loyal to their client. Whatever the client says, you have to listen to, you have to listen back. If I say, I don't want to play for this team, find other team, then you have to listen to. So that's the fiduciary relationship. So there's some definitions of fiduciary relationships. So fiduciary relationships, so key content. One person entrusts his or her interest to another. And the number 2, important, defined as a person who acts primarily for the benefit of another. Whatever you act, whatever you do, should be quite beneficiary for who? The client. Client. Is the best option for me? Okay. And both agent and principal. So the agent is a sport agent, and principal. When I say principal, this is usually the athlete in this case. All duties to the other as part of the fiduciary relationship. So I'm going to cover the duties. Duty owed by principal to agent. So principal to agent. So athlete going to compensate and reimburse. So this is one of the priority thing the principal athlete should do to the agent. Unless you perform this duty, then this can be breach of contract. I spend this much money, and then you pay me, you reimburse me. And cooperation, this is kind of common sense. Provision of safe working conditions. Do not threat, and then do not disappear. So gotta be help for each other. And then what about this is agent to principal. So duties owed by agent to principal. So I didn't change it. Loyalty, good faith. So agent has a duty to the principal, the players. So you gotta fix it on your lecture note, right? Loyalty and performance, reasonable care and skill. Accounting for funds and property, and obedience to follow instructions. So loyalty, performance, accounting, and obedience. Same thing in your note, right? So what does that loyalty mean in this case? Loyalty, which is one of the element owed by the agent to the principal. How can you measure the loyalty? Think about, I'm the agent. Okay, I have two players, same position, same sport. Okay? And if I have a great opportunity in terms of endorsement contract, Nike contact me, or I contact Nike and ask them to sign one of my clients. Then which player should I recommend? Which player should I pick? So I cannot be fair. I gotta pick one of my two clients. But from client perspective, they gotta see loyalty. So this is one of the actual example. The former NBA players. I had to talk to him so many times, and he asked me. He actually contacted the agent and asked for some favor. Hey, I just want to watch Super Bowl next week. Can you give me 4 tickets? And can you give me the accommodation, flight ticket, including hotels, out of agent pocket? So if you're a superstar, then they will pay out of their pocket, and they're going to find a ticket for you. But if you can request that same favor, and the agent said, "Oh no," or they are not reachable. Sometimes, I mean, seriously, he said he was drafted at the number 3 in NBA. So he was drafted at the 3rd in NBA in 2006. And the agent got to do whatever he asked. And then after a couple of years playing, and then he's not the hot potato for the agent anymore. So he called the agent. Agent didn't answer his phone. So he was connected to some other, small agent. So he understood that that's the reality. That's the business. So he requested some of the favor, and then they said no. Okay. So think about how to measure the loyalty, and that's totally based on your bargaining power, which can be viewed as by your performance. And agency relationship, so it should be, number one, should be consensual and created by mutual consent of the parties, established by informal order agreement or formal written agreement. So if you want to hire the client, then you can have formal contract. But most professional sports league have their own standardized agreement, which means the agent cannot deceive the players, the client. You cannot create a contract for your client. So you gotta use the same standardized agreement form provided from player association. Every single player who playing for NFL going to use certain type of agreement format. Only you can think the fill out the underlined empty line, your name and player's name, the period, the date. That's all you can fill out. Okay. So one day, one of my former students who actually used to play for LA Galaxy with David Beckham, he was a goalie, and he wanted to play for Galaxy again. So he brought me his contract and asked me to represent him in terms of the contract. So I said I'm not able to do it because I'm not certified MLS agent. Anyway, I looked at the document, the contract, very standardized. You can easily understand. You don't have to be expert, because once again, not every single agents are lawyers. As long as you're familiar with legal term or contract law, then you can be able to understand quite easily. So empty underlined, your name, certain date. Okay. And then 4 different types of the agency: express agency, implied agency, apparent agency, and ratification. I'm going to explain one by one in the next slide. And then agency related agreement is contract and basic contract principles apply. What are the basic contract principles we talked about? We talked about 2 weeks ago. What are the basic contract principles? Can you remember? Kind of capacity, legality, consideration, offer. Yeah. So those basic four contract principles apply. So if you're young, then you are not able to sign any contract. If so, the contract will be void.